Kyler, should I present? Does that work?
Oh, if you want, you can. I'm already presenting,
Oh,
but whatever.
you're already presenting. All right. I guess you can present. All right. I will be doing the first four slides, the ones that I did. All right, let's do it. Uh, Economic Prosperity in the Cold War by Kyler L. and Ian W. All right. The economy during the Cold War. I split this into two parts, the Soviet Union and the US. So at the beginning of the Cold War, the US blocked all economic trade with Russia, which hurt their economy. As a result, Joseph Stalin tried to make peace with the US so that the Soviet Union could improve their economic standing. However, this didn't work. Overall, during the arms race and throughout the entire Cold War, the Soviet Union kept pouring in more and more money into the war, which led to them going into debt. After the war, the USSR decreased their military spending costs and changed their economic system, which led to millions of people becoming jobless. The US. The US did not have nearly as many economic problems as the Soviet Union. Instead of having a planned economy where the government controlled everything, the US became, over the course of the Cold War, a high productions, high savings economy, where the US produced a lot of goods and didn't spend too much money doing so. As a result of that system, the US outproduced the USSR in almost every way, which is a primary reason why the US won the Cold War. In fact, over the course of the Cold War, the US's gross national product, which is a measure of all goods and services produced in the United States, it's similar to GDP, increased from almost 200,000 million in 1940 to more than 500,000 million in 1960 during the final stages of the Cold War. Although the economy was hurt during the Cold War for sure, overall the US economy grew during the Cold War. Next slide. The growth of the US's economy versus the USSR's growth. I also split this into two parts. USSR, to start, due to the controlled economic system they had, an anonymous Soviet citizen said that they, which is referring to the government, pretend to pay us and we pretend to work. Also, in the USSR's case, a large portion of the money was spent on arms, the military, on the arms race, and on spacecraft during the space race. To be exact, around the middle of 1980s, about 70% of the industrial output of the Soviet Union was going towards military-related things. Also, between 10 to 20% of the Soviets' total output was put towards the military, although the exact number isn't really known to the public. That imbalance is what likely led to the failure of the USSR's economic system, even though the oil industry was strong. This failure of the command economic system is also what led to the change from a government-controlled economy to a market economy, which the US has. As a whole, the Cold War was detrimental to the USSR. Now on to the US. Unlike the USSR, the US's economy grew quite a bit during the Cold War. One reason for this is because the US used a high production, high savings economy, which I touched on in the last slide, where the US produced a large amount of goods and didn't spend too much money doing so. Also, thanks to Reaganomics, which I'll be talking about in the next slide, the economic system was free and open, which also improved the economy. The automobile industry improved the economy of the US greatly because 4 times the amount of cars were produced between 1946 and 1955. Thanks to Reaganomics, the average GDP also increased. By the end of the Cold War, overall, the US's economy had grown. Next slide. Which economy grew the most during the Cold War, the USSR or the US? Without a doubt, throughout the Cold War, the US grew the most. While the Soviet Union citizens lost millions of jobs after the Cold War ended and the economic system fell apart, the US economy had grown after the war. Why? A main reason was because of Reaganomics. Thanks to President Reagan, the US experienced massive tax cuts, a humongous decline in unemployment, and the economy became more unregulated and uncontrolled. Furthermore, the real GDP, which is the total value of goods produced and services provided in a country during 1 year without inflation, of the US grew 1/3. However, this resulted in an increase in national debt. As a whole, however, Reaganomics helped stabilize and improve the economy of the US during the Cold War. Furthermore, during the Cold War, industries such as the electronic, automobile, and television industries grew exponentially, which also helped the economy. Either way, the answer is clear. The US's economy grew the most during the Cold War.
Opinions on the image, a USA. So the paper in the hold on. So the paper in the lady's hand reveals that this is a period where John F. Kennedy was president, The civil rights movement was going on during the 1960s, and the woman was not happy and fighting for equal rights. The second car, TV, and the other automated electrical devices revealed that newer and more advanced technology have been commercialized and becoming more and more part of everyday life and common. People are getting wealthier and they can afford new technology and much better life. Civilians are getting more busy with their work, so they have less time to cook a proper dinner, and that is where the pre-cooked dinner comes in. So the summary for the US. The image shows that during the arms race, the American economy experienced a steady growth. Both unemployment rates and currency inflation were pretty low during Kennedy's presidency, and people were able to afford electrical devices, cars, and more because of it. The civil rights movement in the US also began, and the arms race helped push the US's economy on the right track. Opinions on this image. This is a Soviet image. This image reveals that during the Cold War, many businesses and industries were pretty negatively impacted and or were forced to shut down entirely from bankruptcy. In the USSR, in many civilians were suffering because of the collapsing economy, and unemployment rates were skyrocketing due to the collapsing economy and so many businesses being closed. So, in conclusion, in a dictatorship country like the Soviet, the entire economy was bent towards the arms race, and pretty much all resources were utilized for the Soviet military. In a democratic country like the US, resources were more balanced between the arms race and civilian use, or military and civilian use, and military development experience was transferred into civilian everyday life. For example, the US used their experience from building bombers in World War II into building civilian airliners, which is why they had a head start from in the aviation industry, and pretty much all the electrical devices here are spin-offs from the Cold War. References. So this is directly extracted from the first link over here, this paragraph. So basically what this is support for my points. So main points are the civil rights, the civil the more civil rights here, the steady economy growth, low inflation, drop in low unemployment rates during Kennedy's turn at president, and he also established Peace Corps. So this was to strengthen friendship between countries. It was like voluntary group in the U.S. And he also promised to land the Americans on the moon. So this also intensified the space race with the Soviet Union, and the Soviets invested more of their already collapsing economy on this. And yeah, that's pretty much it.